Okay, guys, Adam Trigger here. It is Monday. It's time for some Major League Baseball free picks. Good week on the free picks last week. Going into Saturday, I think we were maybe like a little bit even, right around even on the free picks for the week. And then we had White Sox plus money. That was an easy winner on Saturday night. So we're back with a couple of free picks today, and I'm going to start in the Motor City. It's the Tigers and the Twins, and there's a lot going on with this game. So let's start the breakdown by just talking about the Twins in general. Last week, I think it was a record number of players that they traded at the trade deadline. And it was somewhat surprising in the respect that, they were not entirely out of it sort of at the time. I believe they were 6 games back in the AL wild card, quite a ways back of the Tigers in the division, their opponents tonight. But still, I think Twins fans, I think a lot of people, probably thought they had an outside chance to play their way back into the mix, and they sold off everyone and basically told their fans, we're going to have to wait till next year because we are moving anyone and everyone that we can move. We're going to go out and see what we can get back for that, and we're going to play for next year. Now, I thought that it was possible that the Twins would be able to compete with some of the guys they got back, and some of the guys that they had down at AAA. It's just this weekend, they really didn't play any of those guys. Mick Abel started yesterday at AAA. He was one of the pieces that came back for Johan Duran. I thought for sure that he would have just been added to the Twins roster, but they had him down at AAA. Right now, they're still, Luke Keschel is coming back from injury. He's still down at AAA. He would be one of the Twins' best players right now if he was up in the big league. So right now, what I'm looking for is to see if the Twins make roster moves today, because as it stands today, they're still 7 games out of the wild card. They're probably out of it. They dropped 2 of 3 to the Guardians over the weekend, but there's still some stuff to like about this Twins organization. It's just the problem is a lot of these like these young upside guys are all down at AAA right now. They called a pair of guys up this weekend that are now at AAA from AA, but like Peyton Ellis has been down there for a while. Would love to see him get a shot. I know some Twins fans that want Jose Miranda to get another shot, and he's still down at AAA. So really, a lot of this is going to depend. A lot of this play for me here is going to depend on what the Twins do throughout the day from a roster standpoint. Do they make some moves? What pitcher are they going to call up here? Because it looks like Simeon Woods Richardson, who I don't really care for, who was supposed to start this game, has been now pushed off until Wednesday. And that's probably why you're seeing such a drastic line move here. Earlier today, the Tigers, you could have got them. I think Tokyo Brandon put them in our WagerTalk, our total basis show parlay at minus 165. Now you're starting to see the Tigers near a $2 favorite, but we don't even really know who the Twins starting pitcher is yet. Are they going to go with one of their younger guys like Pearson Ole, who's been very good, who's someone I might be willing to take a shot with here? It's all really going to depend on what the Twins do from a roster standpoint. Do they call up a couple of guys that I'm high on? And who ends up in the starting pitcher spot? Or is it just a true bullpen game? Those are all questions that we haven't been able to answer yet at the time of filming this video. So as it stands, I do think this number has moved too far. The fact that like the Tigers are now, you're talking 30 to 40 cents different than what they were earlier this morning when it was thought that Simeon Woods Richardson would be the starting pitcher. Like there's other options that I could see starting this game that I wouldn't have as worse options than Woods Richardson, yet the market has now moved 30 to 40 cents. So for me, I would only be able to play back at this move. Right now, Twins plus 1.5 is anywhere between minus 125 and minus 130. Depending on what Minnesota is going to do with their pitching, that has some appeal to it. If it's someone like Pearson Ole or someone like, I just one of the other young sort of upside arms in their organization, I might be able to get down with the Twins here. If it's a clear bullpen game where they're just kind of using, depth guys to get through the first few innings, that's a little bit more difficult. But the Tigers just played a very sort of high energy, high stakes series with the Phillies the last 3 days. And every game was, right down to the wire. It was the series where the Tigers dropped 2 of 3. They could have won all 3 games, yet they could have lost all 3 of those games. They were all close games, a lot of leverage usage out of their bullpen. And then last night, sort of like, just getting grinded down by a really good outing from Christopher Sanchez, right into Johan Duran, closing the door for the Phillies. Do the Tigers turn around a little bit flat? Maybe. But for me, it's going to be about trying to figure out if the Twins have a little bit of value against this inflated number with what they're going to go with today. So I will cautiously optimistic that the Twins have value here, but I've got to see a lineup and I've got to see what they're going to do with their starting pitching. So for right now, we're going to call it lean Twins plus 1.5. That will be the free pick. But as the day goes on, if things look promising, I might have to add that to my client card. I just do not agree with a roughly 40-cent move from what this was earlier. As always, all of my plays, all baseball leagues, MLB, KBO, AAA, you can get them at WagerTalk. The only place you can get them is at WagerTalk. And my page is on the scroll down there, wt.buzz/AT. I will be locking stuff in over the next hour or two. I fully expect to have Major League Baseball, and I expect to have some KBO for the morning. Had a nice bounce back in KBO this past weekend, and the new week starts tomorrow. So if you're interested in that, as well as college football and NFL, where I get involved as well, right now we have a great special that basically gets you the next 3 months for the cost of 2. And that you can find on my page, wt.buzz/AT. I'm not going anywhere when it comes to baseball. That is my number one thing that I'm going to grind out right till the bitter end. But I do get some great information on a couple of colleges, which will be very helpful for college football season. And I'll get involved with the NFL as well. There's going to be a lot of picks that I hope to have you guys with me. All right, let's head out west. Another free play. And this is another one that I'm very interested in today. I have an opinion here. I don't know if it'll make the client card, but it is intriguing. And that's the Tampa Bay Rays as they head out west to take on the Los Angeles Angels. Interesting to me because Tampa Bay now has a guy by the name of Adrian Hauser that I was kind of on. If you watch Total Bases, I was talking about this guy, a veteran guy back in April and May when he was pitching in AAA for Round Rock in the Rangers organization. And I went on my show and said, I think he's going to get a chance at some point. Turns out that chance ended up being with a different team. The Rangers had to let him go. They had every intention of re-signing him to a new minor league deal. The White Sox stepped in. They were able to, they were able to grab him before the Rangers had the opportunity to get him back. And he went out and was tremendous to the point where he went from virtual nothing as he was viewed going into this season, just a veteran with some miles on him. No one wanted any part of him, to a guy that the White Sox were able to sort of flip into something in a trade. So props to the White Sox for that. And what the Rays are getting is a guy that's clearly made some adjustments and is having one of the better seasons he's had of his entire career. So I don't think that he's going to pitch worse just because he's in Tampa now. If anything, he probably continues to pitch well, maybe even continues to pitch better because the Rays are much better at not only developing, but sort of like honing in on pitching than the White Sox are. So you've got a guy, if you look at his Savant page, the fastball command has been outstanding. He has, he's really not giving up a tremendous amount of hard hit, and he's getting a lot of ground balls. Those are all things that you really like to see, especially out of a veteran guy that has proven that he can give you some innings, that he can go 5-6 innings. And that's something that Hauser did a tremendous job for the White Sox. The White Sox were always looking for innings out of Hauser, and he came through basically time and time again, 6 innings, 7 innings, working deep into games and keeping his team in a game. And now he's on a better team. So why would he not be able to do that for the Rays? Now, Yusei Kikuchi is a guy that I'm willing to fade based on the fact that I really feel like he overachieved for most of the first half of the season. If you watched a lot of his starts in the first half, he was almost always sort of wiggling out of trouble. And then there was a couple that were downright just not very good. to the point where you have to wonder, like, kind of crazy that he made an all-star team. I know my colleague Tokyo Brandon was pretty vocal about him not being an all-star caliber pitcher. And I got to agree with TB. When you look at the underlying metrics, he is, gives up a ton of hard hit, not strikeout numbers that are sort of in line with what he's done in the good years of his career. He walks way too many hitters, and really his expected ERA is much higher than his ERA is right now. Pretty much all things that would suggest that Kikuchi should continue to go in the other direction. So when I look at where these two teams are, which is basically on the fringe of the wild card race, they're both, a good week away from maybe being in it, but a bad week away from their season being over. That's kind of where the Rays and Angels are right now. So the stakes are incredibly high for these two teams in this series. And I just don't think the Rays should be an underdog, all things considered. I still think the Rays are the better of the two teams when you look at the rosters top to bottom and just how they're coached, how they play. I still think the Rays have the ability to play some small ball and make some things happen, whereas the Angels are not as good in that sort of vein. And then the Rays have a better bullpen. And in this case, I think they have the better starter, and yet they're an underdog here. So I'm going to go Rays plus 110 for another free pick. So that gives you two free picks tonight. We've got Twins plus 1.5. Right now, that's in the minus 125 to minus 130 range, and Rays plus 110. And they're both plays that I'm considering for my Monday card, which you can find at WagerTalk, wt.buzz/AT. And we have a great special right now, that 3-month special. If you're looking for longer term, if you're looking to stretch your dollar when it comes to buying picks, the long-term specials are the way to go. You're going to get all the football, and you're going to get all of my baseball, MLB, KBO, and AAA, where I'm currently up close to 30 units on the season, having a tremendous season in AAA. All of that as part of that package. wt.buzz/AT. Let's go 2-0 on the free plays, and I'll see you guys in the morning. Total bases, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, every week.